Welcome back. Today, another big topic: mastery. What does it take to become really good at something, or how to be successful at anything, basically? And the process I'm going to show you is applicable, I think, to anything. It can be sport, it can be business, it can be any skill. If you follow these principles, this process, you will come up on top. Period. And the fact that you know where you are going will give you an edge against your competitor. Because in our day and age, in our current modern world, competition is high, it's heavy. And so you cannot afford to waste time if you want to win, of course. So, really big topic, but I got you covered. So, let's dive right into it. So, the process of mastery have basically three big phases. The first one is going to be the discovery phase. The second one is going to be automation and repetition. And the last one will be focus and intensity, where you remove distraction to be efficient. So, the first step, the discovery phase. We are basically, if we are talking about business, this is where you are discovering what is your manual process, what you are doing, and so on. So the discovery phase it's really what it means. It's about learning and building experience. And so this is the part where actually we can get lost a lot, because when you start, there is just too much things to learn. And so that's easy to just lay around and so on, and just really not moving forward as easy as you can. So having a clear process might help you to get through this phase quicker. So let's dive into this process. So the first thing that you need to ask yourself, it doesn't matter. Does it actually matter in the grand scheme of things? What the things that you are trying to master or to build and so on, does it matter objectively? Not for you, but in general, does it matter? Will it bring anything in your life? Will it simplify in the way you operate? Is it going to be something that will bring value to the world? We can see it like that. In some ways, I mean, if you are trying to master and become a sport athlete, yeah, you can say it matters in the grand scheme of things because there is a demand for it. The competition is extremely high, but yeah, there is demand, and this is also to understand why. What is this demand? What does it matter in the grand scheme of things? Because this is entertainment. When you are a sport athlete, you are here to entertain people. Nothing else. And sometimes I think this is something that can be overlooked. But this is important to be aware of it. Next, does it matter to you? Okay, this is something important. This is something that will bring value to the world and so on. But does it fucking matter to you? Because the work required that we are going to talk about is so huge that you better have a very strong why, a very strong purpose. Why do you want to do that, and why does it matter to you? The first two things are really the stepping stone that you need to be aware of. because if those layer are the fact that does it matter in the grand scheme of things and does it matters to you, if this is not solid, your chances of success will be extremely low. So make sure those two are rock solid. Does it matter in the grand scheme of things, and does it matter to you? Then you have established that, okay, it matters to me. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to get this through. I will never give up. This is the level of commitment that you need to accept, that you need to go to have in your mind. I will never give up. And I will put as much work as necessary to get it done. This is the level of commitment we are talking about. Then, okay, you're ready to go. So let's get it. Next, collecting data and information. The first thing, of course, you are starting. You know nothing, and you need to accept that. Put aside your ego, put aside everything you think you know, and start from scratch. You know nothing. So let's collect as much information as possible. Let's learn anything that there is to learn about those subjects. Let's discovering any bit of information that exists out there. Everything. Nothing should be left apart. And it comes back to the thing I told earlier, is without this process, you can go and learning a bit of things and moving on and then coming back to, no, if you are efficient, you first spend as much time as necessary to collect all the information, everything. Then you organize those information. You are building categories. You are making sure that you are not forgetting everything. You are also putting in place strategy to make sure any new information that is happening, you are aware of them. You want to become so immersed in the field that you are looking for building a mastery on, that you know basically everything. Every bit of information, to the point where any information that you new information that you take in, you might say, this is something I already know. But you are still looking for new. You are still looking for new. So you organize, you build your category. Okay, this is about this is about that, this is about this. To the point where you every bit of information that you are taking, you know where to place it, you know if you already know it or not, and so on. Then, as you organize those information, as you build a deep knowledge of it, and also I wanted to say, build and collect information because this can be applied to business, but when it comes to sport and mastery, this is about building experience. You are practicing, you are just testing, experimenting to learn, to discover things and so on. So there is a knowledge part of the sport you're doing, but there is also the experience, the sensation and so on that you're accumulating. And this is really important. The collection of information is both on the intellectual level, but also on a physical level. Basically, what we do with this two-step collecting and organizing the information is filling our neural system with all information. And so our neural system is either our brain or our body. So we want to build experience, we want to build knowledge, and so on. So the next step will come naturally after the first two, which is understanding the underlying patterns, the connections. You will see, okay, I'm collecting this data, and so on. Oh, but you know what? This data and this data might connect with this data and so on. So you are slowly but surely putting things together, connecting the dots here and there, and this is a more natural and gradual process that if you have followed the first two steps, you will move on to that. And if you collect more and more data, more and more new data, those patterns will become more and more obvious as you go on. And so as this go, you will start building a deep, true understanding of the field. A very, yes, you will basically connect everything together and have your big picture, your path. Your path will start being clear and so on, and you will know what to do. You will organize this information and you will know on an intuitive level, okay, this is this path I need to take to get to where I want to go. And so once you reach this point, and that doesn't mean until there you have not started practicing. If we are talking about mastery in terms of a skill and so on, you are already practicing to build experience and so on. But the next step is to find what is going to work for you. Okay, you know the past, you know what is your goal, what you are what you want to reach in the end. So now that you know what you are looking for, you need to find what's worked for you in order to get there. So this will take practice as you are experimenting and building more experience and so on. You will figure it out. You will test, okay, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this doesn't work. I'm feeling good with that, I'm not feeling good with that, and so on. And so on. But then, having something that objectively works, but that's not statistically reliable, basically the next step is going to find a way that works for you, but also that is sustainable over the long term, that is good enough when you are on your bad day, that not perfect, but it works almost every time. Yeah, you see the difference? Prior, we want to find something that works for you. And if we want something that is perfect, fine. We can go and look for something perfect. But when you reach this point, then it's about making you work when you're not at your best self. When you're yes, this is that. It's displaying the statistics. Basic. I'm going to take my one of my example for golf, because this is what I'm the most invested in. So let's say, objectively speaking, if you are able to hit the ball dead straight, you should be fine. But so if you find a technique that allow you to, or not even dead straight, but allow you to put the ball where you want. So if you find your thing and you are able to do it, but the way you found it, the way you are doing it, make it that when you miss big time, not just 1 or 2% of where you wanted to put it, but 10, 20 or 50% in terms of dispersion. So this is not something that works in terms of statistics, because on the golf course it will fuck with you, and that's what I'm talking when I'm talking about statistics. Basically, if you have this range of let's say 1 to 5% of the distance you're hitting, you're almost never able to hit it perfectly where you want, but the ball always get into this range. You understand the difference? So it can be, this is not about perfection, this is about probability. How often am I able to get into a good enough range? And the idea is most of the time. And so this can be also applicable to business, where you have the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle, where you will focus. Basically, you find what works for you. You have your business. You you are able to have customer and so on and so on. But maybe there is only 20% of what you are doing that actually make a big difference, and the 80% that is left doesn't really matter. Right? So if you focus your effort on this 20%, you play the statistics, you will get better results. So this is one example between a lot of that we can see. But yeah, does it work all the time? Is it so simple that it can be repeated or done by anyone? So for you, if you're practicing to master a skill, is it simple enough so I can repeat it all the time, even when I'm not in my best performance ability? And if it's in your business for your customers and so on, does my product, my services is so simple and easy to use that even someone that is tired, that just don't want to think, that a child will be able to do it. This is it. So okay, now we reach this point. We finish the discovery phase. Yes, that was only the discovery phase. But the discovery phase is actually the one that requires the most work, because mastery is an exponential process. It takes 90% of the time to go from 0% to 1%, and only 10% of the time to go from 1% to 100, basically. So this is this part, the 90% that just seems never to finish, that there is always something new to learn, something new to implement, something new to do, something, and so on. So this is the part that is very frustrating, and generally where most people are giving up. And the sad part is generally they are giving up just before they are reaching the tipping point. And so you need to push through that. You need to wait. You need to be patient. And generally speaking, it will take between 5 to 10 years to reach the phase 2. So be patient. Be patient. Phase 2. Let's automate things. Let's make things more stable, fixing, and focus on long-term growth. Because in phase 1, we have built our process. We have built our, if I'm talking about the business side first, we have built our manual process. We are doing things. But now we need to scale. We need to go beyond what we are doing. So to do that, we need to automate. We need to stabilize what we are doing and build script, build process that automate most of the jobs so we can scale and get bigger. Then on the more skill building side, on the more performance mastery side, this is the same thing. Once you have figured out what works and what techniques you use, what you need to do, and so on, you need to stabilize, fix things. And you do by automating, by doing repetition. Sorry, I'm losing myself. So the idea here is to stabilizing and fixing in order to strengthen your your neurological connection and improve your skill as you go. So you want to repeat the same thing over and over and over and over. In the Tao, they are talking about the power of non-action. Where in the first phase, we wanted to test, we wanted to try everything, we wanted to think about how to do things better and so on. Here we don't. Here we are moving on. We have found what works and what doesn't. And now we are stabilizing and we are repeating over and over and over and over. And this is the point where it's very difficult, because you will hear sometime pro athlete and so on that says that the most value, that the most value things that someone can have the most the best mindset that somebody can have to master something is how he deal with boredom. And at this point, things will get boring. Yes, because you're just repeating and repeating. So you need to find enjoyment in the process of repeating, enjoyment in the process of feeling that you are getting more comfortable, that you are owning more your stuff, and so on, that you are building confidence. So it depends. Some people will find this phase more interesting, more fulfilling than the first phase. Generally, this is people that like doing the same thing over and over. So those kind of people need to be focusing to pay more attention on the first page, because they are at least to fucking things up, because they are not collecting enough information and understanding things as a whole. But on the other side, the ones that are more easier, that are more comfortable with the phase one, will struggle at the phase two, because they will need to stabilize themselves. They will need to focus and just repeat over and over the same thing to build those neural connections and so on. But we are not starting from scratch. We already have built our experience. So I'm continuing on the mastery process of skill, basically, for now. We already have built some experience, some practice, and so on. And so there is this idea of 10,000 hours. And 10,000 hours, in my experience, I truly thought initially that I can go around it, find a way to make it faster, but no. And the reason is 10,000 hours is the time required for you to build strong and reliable neural patterns in your brain and in your body. And this simply takes time. So the only way to go faster is only to stabilize early on and repeating the same thing over and over. But I'm going to talk about something later, which is a trade-off between going fast on the first phase to stabilize quicker and doing the opposite, to taking a lot more time on the first phase, but so you will also have to spend more. You will then have the repetition part that will take a bit longer, of course, but this is a trade-off that is complicated. But I'm going to talk about later. You will see what I'm talking about. So yes, repetition, automation. In the business side, it's going to be about scaling. It can be also about skills, because you have some skill with your business and so on, and so you will become better at what you do, and so you will deliver better services, better customer experience, and so on. And on the sports side, it's going to be building reliable neural pattern, building confidence, being comfortable with what you do, and really moving forward. Then, phase 3. Focus and intensity. Now, basically, now you've trained to the point where everything has become natural. This is the second nature for you. So I'm going to talk about first the mastery skills part, and then the business side. So you have trained to the point where things have become natural. You don't even have to think about them to actually doing them. You're just doing it. The same as working, as breathing. This is just, you're just doing it. Things has become like this. And so this is about learning how to enter in a flow state and staying in it. Because the trap of having this natural motions, that having everything is become natural for you, is to lose focus, is to just stop losing this intensity that that you were before requiring because you weren't confident or you were struggling. And now that things become natural, you the risk is to lose your focus, especially if you repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. At some point, you can lose your focus and get distracted and so on, and have a less purposeful practice. And that's the mistake. That is not a mistake. In the first place, in the phase 2, this is what you want. You want to get there. But then if you want to reach the next level and develop really the winner's mindset, you need to enter into this part where you will build a maximum amount of intensity when it matters. And so this is really almost, you will hear it in the Japan culture and so on. This is a part where you are almost doing meditation when you are practicing. You are focusing on your breathing, on your process, on what you are doing when you are doing it. You are completely forgetting about yourself, your ego, everything else that is outside. You are just focused on what is going on when it's going on. There is no separation between your mind and your action, and you are executing with ultimate precision. And this requires a lot of training on this intensity. You put yourself, relax, then you enter into the field with maximum intensity. You enter into the field and the game is on. You are not the person you were 5 seconds ago. You are now a completely different person with an inhuman focus and intensity that is only focused on winning. And that can only be done through practice. You need to practice this mindset, you need to practice this focus and this intensity. A good example that I like to talk about is Rafael Nadal at Roland Garros, which has really this focus but you can take any athlete that has become a legend at its sport. Every one of them, it could be basketball, it could be golf with Tiger Woods and so on. Each of those men has reached a point of ultimate focus and intensity in their game when they are playing in the field. So yeah, focus and intensity, you remove distraction, and you are here, right now, executing and winning. And on the business side, this is the same. You are automating, you are making sure everything is running smoothly and so on, that your process is stabilized. But if you are just laying there, your computation will take over at some point. You need to be focused. You need to increase your intensity, your efficiency. You need to remove distraction and so on. You need to make sure your process get better and better and more impactful for your customers, and more impactful in terms of speed of delivery and so on. This is an ongoing process of repeatedly identifying the sticking point and making sure the customer experience get better and better, and that your process of executing your strategy become more efficient and more intense in terms of impact. You have a strategy. How do you execute it? What is the intensity and the impact at which you are able to execute it? Yeah, so this is also this process. Automation, repetition is good, but now you need to go beyond that. You need to remove distraction, build this winner's mindset, constantly studying what is working, what is not working, how you can make things better, and so on. So it is an ongoing process of improvement and efficiency. And on this stage, this is really about the Kaizen way, basically. one small step make all the difference, because you will reach a point where, okay, you have automated everything, everything is so well optimized and so on, so there will be no obvious things actually to improve. And that's why you will need to improve very subtle things that maybe nobody is paying attention of, but when you add those little things one after another, one after another, one after another, they will make the big difference. 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. How can you improve 1% per year, and so on? So yes, and this can actually be applied also to pro athletes that have reached their top level, where you have your start at the beginning of the year. The goal is to be 5 to 10% better at the end of the year, or even less than that actually, because the goal is just to get better. Because there is something that you really need to understand. You either get better or get worse. This is almost impossible to stay where you are. So you always need, even though this is difficult, you always need to be looking for a little bit better, a little bit better, all the time, a little bit better, a little bit better. And it comes down to focus and intensity. Even though this is a business, your ability to perform within this business will require focus and intensity. And so you need to train and you need to execute. So yes, I got those 3 phases. But on how you go about doing them, because we kind of see that maybe we need to do a bit of discovery. Either you are doing step 1, step 2, step 3 in order, basic, or you can do a mix of a little bit of them and so on. But that's really difficult, because this is the trade-off that I was talking about earlier, about short-term path and long-term path. Where if you took the short-term path, you basically, by spending less time on the phase 1 and going on to phase 2 and maybe sometime going back to phase 1 and so on, maybe by doing that you will be able to stabilize quicker your performance, your system, your technique, and so on, and start perform. But the issue with that is that you will not be able to reach your full potential. And on the other hand, if you are taking the time to actually go as deep as possible on phase 1, once you reach the phase 2 and really automate, repeat, build neural connection, and so on, things will go smoothly, and every step you will make forward will be a strong step, and you will reach your full potential. This is really, basically, you can think about the long-term path as this exponential curve I was talking about, where you will spend 90% of the time just reaching the 1%, but when you do reach this 1%, these things will just explode, and you will reach your full potential. And the short-term path is a more linear path, but the issue is you will struggle to reach your full potential. You will basically move faster, and even I think you can go logarithmic, which is you will move if you spend very little time on the phase 1 and go directly on phase 2, just doing the same thing over and over and stabilizing, you will quickly perform and reach a plateau that you will almost never get out. So that's complicated, and so there is the middle part. So not exponential, not logarithmic either, but so the exponential logarithmic will cross at some point where you will reach your full potential and you won't. So there is the linear path, the path that I think I'm pro long-term thinking. So I for myself, I choose the long-term path, and it took me 10 years, and I'm approaching this 1%. I think I'm right at it. So, but it took me 10 years to get there. and a lot of struggle, some burnout along the way. So with now the experience that I have, I think there is linear way that can also bring you a lot of benefit and also allow you to reach your full potential, maybe later than the exponential way, but at least you get result, you get positive feedback from your work. And this is basically the trade-off, the ability to find the sweet spot between those two. And so there is two ways to go about this this linear way. The first one will be about the baby steps. And I got actually the inspiration from an anime, and if you can go watch it. This is an anime about tennis, where you see someone taking one little step after another to master his craft. And actually, I think it's pretty damn well done and well explained. And so you all learn. The idea of the baby step is you're making little cycle and cycle where you're doing phase one, you're learning something, then you go on to phase two to master this thing, repeating and so on. Then you come back to phase one to learn a new thing, and then you move on to master it and so on. So you are repeatedly learning something, mastering it, learning something, mastering it, learning something, mastering it. So you are building progressively everything as you go. That might be a good idea, a good way to go about it. Yeah, I think, and but that requires still to have a very good understanding, and I think this will be difficult to do it alone. The advantage of the exponential way is you can do it alone, because you will spend a lot of time learning and understanding things, and so you will be able to by yourself know what to do. Where the linear way, you will need help, you will need mentors and so on. Yeah, so the baby step. Then you have the what I call the mastery by strategy. So the idea is you establish a strategy and practice until you get a very deep understanding of it. Yes. And actually, I got this idea from a game, Trackmania. So this is a game where you are racing basically, and fucking basically. So yeah, you are racing. So in a race, you have different way to go about the race. Some corner and so on, a way to accelerate, to brakes and so on. So you can do it in different ways, and the more experienced you are, the more you know which strategy is good. But in order to perform, you need to stick with one strategy and actually own it, really own it and mastering it. And so the idea of mastering by strategy is, let's take the example of a race. You take just whatever strategy comes first to your mind. This is random initialization. You just try. Then you try to become really good at it. You just try to get your PB, your personal best time, as low as possible with this exact strategy and nothing else. Then once you reach your PB and you are not able to improve it, then you will think about, okay, so this is what I'm doing exactly. Maybe let's try to improve things one parameter at a time. So in any field, in anything that you are doing and learning, you have basically a million parameters that are in play. So the idea of mastery by strategy is you establish a first random strategy, whatever it is. Then you will tweak one parameter after another. And so you have mastered this first strategy. Then you see, okay, I think this parameter is probably the most obvious that I can use to improve my time, to get a better strategy. So you tweak it, and then you practice until you master with this new strategy. And so on. And you'll do it over and over and over. Always looking for the next parameter that will bring you the most benefit in terms of improvement. And I think that's a fair enough way to go about it. Probably really efficient. But as I said, here also you will need probably a mentor, someone to help guide you with more experience than you, that will be able to tell you which parameters to focus on and improve. So that's why it's a bit complicated. But I guess, yeah, if you find your way in a situation where you can have those mentors, having this linear way will be interesting. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have those mentors. Or I had people, but what they were saying to me just didn't make sense. And so I needed for me to figure out things by myself. This is something I can't help it. This is my personality. I want to figure out things by myself, understanding them on the deepest level. So when I understood that, I just figured out, okay, I gave up. I just go all in with my innate way of doing things. And since I've done that, first of all, it's a lot better in terms of mental health. I'm just worrying a lot less because I'm accepting really who I am. You should do the same. And I start getting tremendous results because I'm go all in on one strategy, focusing on one way of doing things. And I think that another point that is very important, being able to understand yourself, being able to know what are your strengths and weaknesses, also in terms of what do you like to do, what do you don't like, because going against your natural tendencies will slow you down, will prevent you from moving forward as fast as you can. And as I said earlier, in our modern world, the competition is so high that you cannot afford to lose time. I think that's understandable. So, last point, but not least, about this whole mastery process. And that's why this trade-off is, even though it's balanced between the short term and long term and short term, even though those trade-off, those two strategies, the baby step and mastery by strategy, even though it balances out the performance and okay, you may reach a good level in the future, you're taking some very big risk. And this is this idea of house of cards. Because the performance and mastery can only grow when the foundation are stable and stop changing. Which is basically, oh, fuck! Sorry for this. I need to stop saying basically. I realize I'm doing it all the time. This is just driving me insane. So, between the first step and the next step and the second step, which we talked about earlier, we are stabilizing things. We have built our house of cards, and we are now putting one card on top of another on this foundation. And this is really what this is about, because if you start changing things, and this is why the baby steps and the mastery by strategy is very, it can bring you the most benefit in terms of reward, in terms of reward and performance, because you are going up linearly instead of exponentially with having no result for 90% of the time. You are having result. This is good for your mental health and so on, but this is also very dangerous. Because if you tweak the wrong parameter, if you remove the wrong card at the wrong moment, everything can collapse. And if you're into sport and so on, you probably have already seen some athlete or talented young individuals that were just crushing it. that we thought, oh, that's a next legend, that they will win everything and so on, but they didn't. And why? Because they have removed the wrong card. And some of them make it didn't remove the worst card, so they are able to come back from it, and some just never came back from it. So if you change something, you're taking the risk to see all the work you've put in collapse. Yes, that's why for me I choose the long-term path, because I started golf late, and I know if I wanted to reach at some point where I want to go, and I need to make sure I don't fuck this up. So I take on myself those now 11 years of work with little to no result, because I know that this is what is going to make the difference. I'm looking on a constant progression with no setback forever. And I will climb the mountain to the top, and when I reach the top, I will retire from the game. Because this is what I started too late to build a long career into it. I know it. And so I will reach the top. That will be a fine way for me to say I did it, and then I will move on with my life. But yes, so this is, you need to understand your personal circumstances and so on, what you are doing, who are the persons that are able to help you also, because as I said, I like to figure out things on my own, so I gently make the mistake of pushing everybody away. So yeah. But also, this is a bit the darker point, but that is everything may collapse. But there is also something that you need to have hope, because if you are in this position and you've tweaked the wrong parameters, there is hope for you, because this will take less time to rebuild everything. Simply because you already know. You have already put a ton of work in the phase one. Now you just need to stabilize again what you've changed and repeat to rebuild those neural connections. Because this is that. If you change something, basically, if you change something, you're forcing your neural pattern in a new direction. And depending on how old you are and how long you've been playing or executing your skill, this shift in your neural pattern will take time. So make sure you're focused on what you are changing, and then stabilize as soon as possible, and repeat until you are able to have a natural state again. And this is what I like also about the baby step part, is you're doing something, then you make it natural, then you are doing something else. So yeah, I mean this is different way. So that was a lot. I think I need to stop rambling. But yeah, that's the mastery process. And yes, I forgot. On the business side, of course, long-term versus short-term path. This is exactly the same thing, because if you are looking on short-term target, executing short-term, having short-term quick win and so on, you will jeopardize your long-term success. You will find issue in terms of scalability, in terms of customer relationship, and so on. So same, short-term path is not necessarily a success. It will get you a result really fast at the beginning, but you will reach a plateau, and this plateau in business may get you out of business. So be careful. I think in terms of mastery, especially if you are if you are doing a skill and you want to be pro in sport and so on, this is really difficult to do what I did, spending 10 years without getting really much result. So maybe having a more linear path might be fine, but when it comes to business, I think long-term play, long-term path is the play. This is the play, because in the term of sport, generally we have a deadline, a wall in terms of age. Like in tennis, passing 30 years old, 35, this is extremely difficult to perform. So you have to perform earlier, you have to be performant as soon as you can. But when it comes to business, I mean, what's the hurry? You have your whole life to build something that is great and that is going to last. So take the time. I think in business, long-term path is the path to success. Long-term vision. Period. So yes. I think that's the biggest video I've did so far. But yeah, that's a good overview. I'll probably make videos deeper about each step and so on, even though that's already a good enough video. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you like the video, make sure to like it, to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I see you next time.